Last week when I made the backing plate for this little chuck, I had lots of chatter issues, and even the tool post seemed to flex a little under the load of the threading operation. So before I start making a screw-on arbor for this flea market find, I'm going to take the slides apart, and hopefully I can find the source of the problem. It's been suggested that the chatter might also be caused by excessive play in the spindle bearing, but I don't think that's a problem. So that's 3 or 4 hundredths of a millimeter, and well, that's enough for some oil clearance, but shouldn't cause a problem, in my opinion. I have no idea why there are 3 holes on this side and there's only a screw in the middle, and it's sitting a lot deeper than the other 2. It might be a repair of some kind. It's not coming out. And off comes the tool post. Now I'm going to knock out this bolt here, and then hopefully I can stone the surface of the tool post, because I noticed that some of my bigger shims, they are kind of rocking on here. Here's the gib that came out of here, and it looks better than the one that was in my other lathe. There is a bit of a ridge, but it feels pretty smooth. Anyway, I think I should just hammer out this plug here. I'll put in a bit of heat and then start whaling with the sledgehammer. This table is probably not the best for this work, but we'll try. Parts are jumping. Nothing's moving. Well, that's not gonna do much, but you gotta try something, right? Alright, I'll take this to my workbench, because this table is just too springy. Well, that bolt is not coming out, and I heated things up. I'll try again when things cool down. And let's continue disassembling. Now, the 24mm doesn't fit, and 26 is pretty loose, and I don't have a 25. 26 actually fits quite nicely on my other lathe, so not much standardization there. Damn! The table is too high. I'm standing on my toes here. I'm going to reinstall it on the lathe so I can put some more power on there. Easy. No, that's not going to work. all this. Some bloody sharp edges on that nut. And there it is. Rusty. That could use a little cleanup. There's some rusted up grease on here. Nasty. There's a bit of play in the nut here, some backlash, but also the whole assembly can move a little bit forward and backwards. Well, I don't care much about backlash. An amateur like me can easily work around it by ignoring it. There's a pin here, and that probably has to come out before I can disassemble the screw and the handle and the dial. It probably has nothing to do with my chatter problem, but I want to clean up this dial because it's hardly readable at the moment. Well, that was a pretty easy pin. Right. Now I gotta move that copper nut to the other side without the handle. Didn't I tell you I was kind of lazy? Those slits on those old screws, they can be annoyingly narrow. Look at this, they split the nut to take up the backlash. Gunk. The cross slide should come apart in the same way as the top slide, except the nut here doesn't line up with the window here. So I guess I will have to take off the handle first. That's the correct side. give it up. There it is. Not a good idea. Oh, this was already bent a little. Looks like someone has been hammering here before. I think there is some damage on the front here, and that's why it's not moving forward. A blunt cold chisel. Nothing. It's a good thing these handles aren't pretty. And finally, I win again. And if I can't win, I'll cheat. Ah, stupid old bolts. That's a different construction. Right, more screws. One is shorter than the other. There's a taper on here. Alright, now I can screw out the threaded end. Wait. Damn it. Come on! No grip on the taper here. Ah, back to manual labor. Finally, there it is. Ah, shitty stuff. Yeah. This one does have 5 screws. Yep, they also split this one. Well, now I'm going to do the less interesting work, cleaning things up, and after that I'll see what I can find. I'm done with the cleaning. I did some degreasing, derusting, desmurfing. It's a nasty business, but it's a good way to really inspect the parts. And I did find some issues that could be related to my chatter problems. I never did get this bolt out. At some point I was hitting pretty hard, and I got afraid that this casting might break, so I stopped. It will make it a bit more difficult to stone this surface, but well, I guess we will have to work around it. There's quite a bit of wear on these dovetails, and I found some high spots, probably related to impact damage. I knocked those down, so that might help with the chatter problems. But a bigger issue is this part over here that goes on here, and when I worked this with a stone, I noticed that there was hardly any contact on the outer ring here. So it looks like this inner ring is higher than the outer, and that doesn't help. I've been trying to get it down a bit with this diamond stone, and that seems to be working, but I'm not there yet. The surface over here seems to be okay, although there is some pitting over here where it is not bearing, so that shouldn't be a problem. This seems to be a repair. Looks like some part has been braced in here, so at some point it must have been hit pretty hard. But the biggest problem I found is with this surface over here. When installed on the bed, it is only bearing on the inside part here and not on the outside. You can easily get a 5/100th of a millimeter feeler gauge underneath this part on both sides. This blue color here, it is some kind of hammerite paint. It's very hard. It's very difficult to remove, and I wonder if this is the original color. Although baby blue, I don't know. I did some painting on the inside of these parts. I found some 40-year-old metal primer, you know, the good stuff with Lathe additives. and it seems to be working still fine after all those years. I will paint the rest of the castings at some point after I fix the issues I found. Well, there are no real high spots on the bed, except for a few little ones underneath the chuck. This bed is actually a lot better than the one on my other lathe. This is a 500th of a millimeter feeler gauge. Looks like it's getting a little bit better on this side. And of course I've tightened up the bolt that locks it to the bed. Van Gogh, oil paint. Very good for finger painting. Maybe a bit much. That looks better. Looks like it's only bearing here and here. So I'm actually going to use my homemade scraper for this, and it doesn't really work that well, but it's what I have, it's what I made, it's what I will use. Table moves too much. Slowly it is starting to look a little better. It looks like I took a bit too much material off over here. But I want to move away from one contact patch in the middle here to two patches on the side. That way the casting can't rock on the beds. The wear is pretty significant over here, but that's probably caused by the chips that got underneath. So this is how far I got, and this is where I stopped because I had enough of that scrappy scraper. I got my two contact areas, and I think I improved things a lot. Unfortunately, the most heavily worn part over here is still not in contact with the bed, but to change that I have to remove quite a lot of material, and that might have a negative effect on the feedway, and I don't want to risk that. Besides, I've spent enough time scraping already. So now I'm going to put the cross slide back together, and then I will have a look at the pivoting point between the cross slide and the top slide. I figured out the confusing nut and bolt situation. The nut bolts to the slide with these three bolts. These two sit above the slit, or actually there is no slit at this part of the nut. And this one here sits below the slit. Then these two allow you to tighten up the slits and thus tightening up the nut. and since there were only 3 bolts on the top slide nut, it looks like 2 bolts are missing. So I got to hunt those down. It's all back together. The dial cleaned up reasonably well. It's readable again. The one on the top slide isn't as good, but I guess if I wanted to, I could always make a new one. There are actually quite a few improvements possible here. I could remake this block with a ball bearing. Now it just has a truss surface in here that is adjustable with these 2 little set screws, and those can be used to take out all the slack. Extending these pieces here and also the lead screw would give the cross slide a little bit more reach. And then there's the ugly handle that could be replaced with a nice ball handle. Lots of possibilities, but they will probably never happen, as my affection will probably move on to some other dead object. As you can see, this surface has been riding this surface pretty hard, while at the same time there hasn't been much contact between this surface and this surface over here. You might remember from earlier when I took this apart that there was quite a bit of rust over here and also over here. So some material might have worn and rusted away over the years. So I think this could also be a source of my chatter problems. I have been trying to wear down the inner part here to hopefully increase better contact between this and this surface. I'm not sure if that's the best approach, but it's the best I can think of. And now I'm going to do some more finger painting, see how these surfaces match up. Looks like I need a new battery. The tripod is in the way. See? Doesn't look too bad, not much contact over here. I'll try removing a little bit more material here. This here is a 400 grit diamond hone. And it's pretty flat, so I'm thinking it should work for removing a bit of material. The machining marks are still pretty well, visible and feelable. It makes it easier to turn, but I think it also makes it easier to rust away. Here's the result of the second test. It's a bit hard to see because I didn't use much paint. Still not much contact in this area, and that's the corner where the tool bit goes. There's not much contact on the inner ring here, a bit over here, and I think I will wear that down a bit more. I used a bit more paint this time, so hopefully you can see it a bit better. As you can clearly see, this corner here isn't in contact with the top slide, and that is where the tool bit pushes down hard. I realized that by stoning this area I'm creating a high spot over here, so that won't help when you want to use the top slide at an angle. It looks like things are improving. It's a bit hard to see with this light, but there is actually some paint here. I'll do one more pass with this diamond hone, and then it should be good enough for me. I'm reasonably happy with my results, so I'm going to put the top slide back together. One thing, the surface under the nut, well actually under the washer here, it is a bit iffy, but not much I can do about that. I found a couple of bolts that fit the cross-slide nut. I needed to turn down the head, but that's why you have a second lathe. Lengthwise they are perfect. I've got them tightened up, and it takes quite a lot of slop out of these nuts. I think they might even be too tight at the moment. But it makes a huge difference sideways. There actually wasn't that much backlash. I will loosen them up so you can see the difference. As you can see, that's significant. I believe the cross-slide nuts on my other lathe also have 3 bolt holes, so I should be able to do the same modification. Cut a slit and add 2 extra bolts to tighten things up. The slides are all back together, and I just ran a stone over the far side of the tool post and took a few measurements with my test indicator. And it doesn't look too bad. So far everything seems to be within 0.05 of a millimeter. So here are my findings so far. There's a significant low spot over here. I'll show you. It goes down at least 1/10 of a millimeter. And it's very small, and it's kind of strange. There's another one over here, but that one isn't as significant. And this corner here is a bit low, and it drops off even further. It probably got hit a few times. Most of the rest of the tool post, although the surface is a bit rough, is within 0.04 of a millimeter. It is too bad I couldn't get this stud out, because then it would be easier to resurface this tool post. But it is what it is, and I guess I will have to live with it. This here is my biggest shim, and it feels pretty solid on here. No corner is pushed up. Oh, that didn't improve things. So I guess I will need to inspect my shims, especially the bigger ones. Well, that's it from me for now. In my next video you will get to see the result of all this tinkering. I gotta leave you wanting more, right?